Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my review of episode 6 of The Boys. So, this one had quite a few things going on, so if I forget anything, please remind me in the comments or ask for my thoughts on anything you wish. But I'll try to get through as much as I can. So, a lot of this episode focused on basically public relations. Um, Vought was having all of the heroes of the seven do their own little like commercials and advertisements, trying to make them seem relatable and connectable so that they can get their plan to have the heroes work with the military off the ground. That is the entire plan. So they're trying to gain citizen sympathy, basically. We have examples like we see A Train running with I don't want to use this word because it sounds so mean. It's always come across as rather rude to me, but I can't think of anything else. So I apologize to anyone this might offend, but I just can't think of another way to word it. But we see him running with some crippled people, probably veterans, is what I think it's going for obvious reasons. We see Maeve smiling and laughing with some people. We see a big focus on Homelander. He is doing this commercial where he's going back to his childhood home and reminiscing about his life and having like a baseball birthday cake and stuff. Um, and we find out though that that's not really his childhood home and it's not really his childhood life, that it's literally just a media spin in order to make him more relatable. And he doesn't like it. And I actually like that aspect of things. Um, because it's like as horrible and disgusting and kind of evil as Homelander has been, I actually kind of agree with him on this point. The idea of having him pretend to the camera that this was all his reality when it wasn't is kind of fucked up. And we even see a little bit of what his reality as a child was. Because we find out for absolute certain in this episode that all of these supers we know were taken by Vought and experimented on as children, being given the compound V to become supers. That all of this was basically a big setup. And we even see a little bit of Homelander's childhood basically in an experimental testing facility. And it very much reminds me of Wanda from WandaVision, or the MCU in general, but I specifically think of WandaVision because it's the most recent example I've seen. And in that, it specifically does show her in a very similar situation as a kid. Um, so, yeah, it's like, it's really, really fucked up. And I will agree with Homelander that it's kind of fucked up to do that kind of thing. Um, and we see when he's doing this entire house tour, we even see he gets upset at seeing a blanket, which we find out was real, and it's the actual only piece of his childhood there that is real. He had that when he was in the testing facility. It was the only like kind of it looked like it was the only thing he had. So it's like that really actually upset him seeing that there. Um, we also see Starlight quite a bit in this episode, both interacting with Huey and with Vought, and especially Stillwell. Um, the scene with her and Stillwell talking, easily one of my favorite scenes, and is really hammering in how much I love Starlight as a character, or Annie, if you wish to prefer to call her that. I just call her Starlight for sake of ease. um, but Stillwell is basically telling her that she is a selfish bitch for going off script and doing what she did at the Christian festival. And so she's telling she's telling Starlight, it's like, you're going to behave, you're going to go back to normal, things are going to be returned to the status quo. And Starlight's just like, no, no, I'm not doing that. And she starts listing off these demands, including wanting her old costume back. And then she fucking blackmails Stillwell. It's like, I know things. I can go public with these things. That would ruin your image. And it is badass. And I just love how she's standing up for herself and not letting people take advantage of her anymore. She wants to be a hero. She wants to be part of the Seven, but she's going to do it her way. And she's going to make sure that these assholes don't use her in the way that they have been anymore. And she has leverage now. And she's willing to use it. And I have to give her massive kudos for that. It just, I just really love her character. I really love her. She's awesome. She's badass. She's not afraid to speak her mind, and she's not going to take this shit anymore. She started off as kind of like this dreamer, this kind of nice, friendly, hopeful girl, but she's had to defend herself after everything that's happened. And I'm so glad she has. I am so glad she has. Um, there's also this awesome scene that is more awesome because of the depth it gives certain characters. Um, well, one character in specific, and that would be Butcher. We see Butcher and Huey go to a support group for people who have been victimized by supers. And yes, by the way, I keep calling them supers. I know in the show they call them soups, but that's really confusing to me because that's Superman's nickname. Like that's what characters call Superman for short. So it's like it's just like a little confusing for me and weird for me. I prefer supers anyway. It just sounds better, rolls off the tongue better in my opinion. Either way, so they're all there. There's like this one guy whose spine was completely fucked up when a hero was saving him. Um, this other guy who got in a relationship with this ice hero, and when she climaxed, she turned to ice for just a split second and caused his penis to freeze and break off and stuff like that. But all of them are trying to like kind of give the benefit of the doubt and trying to like say like, oh, well, we still kind of like these heroes and all. And then Butcher gets pissed at that because we know Butcher's been victimized as well. We know that. So Butcher gets pissed and starts yelling at them, starts going off on them about how they're just sitting. Basically, he's like talking about how they're sitting in a kumbaya circle and just showing their love for these heroes that have done them wrong and stuff. And he brings up the idea that maybe these heroes did it on purpose and stuff. And later on in the episode, we finally get the full story on why he hates supers so much. We find out exactly what happened to his wife. That she had been raped by Homelander. And I knew it was something to do with Homelander. That was made pretty obvious. But she had been raped by Homelander. And then for hours she sat on a bench in a park. And then when she got up and walked away, she was just never seen from again. Butcher believes that either Homelander killed her or she killed herself, but either way, it kind of ends up as the same result. And it's still Homelander's fault. And honestly, yeah, it is. And again, even though I agreed on one thing with Homelander in this episode, I still acknowledge he's a really fucked up piece of shit. Like, he is the ultimate villain of this series so far. Like, yeah, you could say Vought is pretty fucking bad as a whole, but Homelander, it's clearly building up to something with him. It's clearly building up to something where either he just goes full villain or something bigger is going to happen. This episode also showed Ashley getting fired. She was the PR person for Vought, and she got fired because she had suggested Starlight for that Christian festival, and then everything happened, and so she was blamed for it, which is kind of stupid because it had nothing to do with Ashley. But At the same time, I don't really mind that she was fired. I don't care much about her character. Like, she's been a little bit of an annoying character here and there. Um, and that's kind of it. She hasn't had really much else to her. Maybe they'll develop her more as it goes on now that she's no longer working for Vought. We'll see. But there's a new PR person who seems less annoying but more uncaring. Because we see the scene with Maeve. Maeve is doing this interview for their entire PR stunt thing. And then Maeve's ex, who we had seen, I think, a couple episodes before. Or was it last episode? I don't even remember at this point. Um, but we see Maeve's ex come in and she starts talking to her, and they're arguing about things and how that confrontation they had last went. And this woman's like, "Oh, turn the cameras over there. They're over there. Roll it. Put a boom mic above them without them knowing and stuff like that." It's like that's really fucked up. They're having a private conversation, and it's like she doesn't seem to care. Like, even after she's called out about it, she's like, "Oh no, no, we're just setting up another shot." But then when Maeve storms off, it's like, "Okay, you can quit rolling." And it's like she just doesn't care. She seems more ruthless than Ashley, but at the same time, she's just not as annoying. And you get the idea. Um, but yeah, we also see a bit of the Deep in this episode, coming off of kind of everything that's been built up with him, with raping Starlight and with the dolphin incident. He talks to Stillwell and he finds out that he's being kind of put on hold for the time being. He's kind of like it's basically like being suspended from school. It kind of gives me those vibes. Um, but before he does, he's going to put out a public apology video, basically coming clean about that he was the one who raped Starlight, even though she never actually said or even hinted at who it was. So, and this apology video is so fucking dumb. It basically amounts to, "I didn't know it wasn't consensual. I'm sorry." It's so fucking spun by the PR. It's not funny. It's so fake. Um, but we do get to see some good scenes going back to Starlight. We do get to see some good scenes with Starlight and Huey in this, and they finally kiss. And there's a big moment in that. While they're talking and stuff, Huey does see the vision of his old girlfriend again, but then they kiss and the vision's suddenly gone. And I think that might be what that vision was about. I think it was telling him to move on, to continue to live his life without all of this regret and pain, and just without having all of this holding him back. His girlfriend, like from what we saw in the first episode before her death, she seemed like a great person, really funny, really personable. I honestly don't think she would want Huey to be just forcing himself into this state of vengeance and this state of sorrow over her. She'd want him to move on. And so when we see him kiss Starlight and everything and really solidify themselves as a couple, that's why the vision disappears. He's finally ready to move on. And that moves into like something that Butcher ends up saying to him in this episode too. He notes how Huey has changed, how he's not the scared, nervous little man he used to be, but that he's just fully in this now. And that can be both seen as a good thing or a bad thing. It can be shown that he's not worrying about all that stuff anymore, but at the same time, it could be seen as like he's a little too okay with this kind of stuff now. So we'll have to see where that goes. And the last thing I want to talk about is the girl. So through this episode, we get more on the girl and more with Frenchie and her. kind of their relationship growing and stuff. And through this, we meet uh, Mesmerizer, I think his name is, played by Haley Joel Osment. um, he is a former child star and super who has the power to read the thoughts of anyone he's touching. So it's kind of similar to Robin Hill's semblance in Ruby, except instead of just being able to tell if someone's telling the truth or not, he can actually read their minds. But it seems like only what they're thinking about at any given time. It's not, he can't just like read everything from their past or their uh, thoughts in general. It's just specifically what they're thinking about. Um, but yeah, so the boys get him to try and read the girl's thoughts because either doesn't or can't communicate verbally. So with his help, they find out her name is Kimiko, and that she and her brother were kidnapped as children and forced to fight in this liberation terrorist army against their will. She managed to escape, but now her goal is to go back and free her brother, which Frenchie is all about helping her with, because Frenchie and her are just like, they have just become so close, and I just love Frenchie. I just love Frenchie, and I love this storyline they're working on with him and Kimiko. Now we have a name for her, of course. Um, so we find out all of that happened, and even though she got escaped from there, she ended up being experimented on with Compound V and everything here in the States, and she's been through hell, and Frenchie just wants to help her. Unfortunately, even though they try to help mesmerize her a little bit by trying to reconnect him with his daughter, who he hasn't seen in years due to his kind of washed up lifestyle, kind of fucking up his family. Um, he's at first swears he's going to get better in order to see her again, but then he ends up going back on that and leaves a message for the caseworker saying it's like, you don't have to worry about that. I'm glad I got to see her again. She doesn't even recognize me. She doesn't even know me. And it's like, at that point, we see he's going to Homelander, and he tells Homelander everything. He gives him all the information about the boys and everything that he has, and that's really bad because now Homelander knows about them, and he clearly recognized Butcher, which he clearly had before during the big race that A Train was in. We saw them staring at each other then. So yeah, this is definitely building up to a big head, and I can't wait to see exactly what it's going to develop into. Um, but yeah, this was a pretty darn good episode. I really enjoyed all of the big stuff that was developed in it, and all the big stuff that's working towards development in it. And we only have like two more episodes in this season. There's only 8 episodes in season 1 of The Boys, so we're gonna get through these last two hopefully quicker, because I know we've kind of lagged on these episodes a bit lately, on these reviews and all. So hopefully we'll get through those quicker. And I'm going to say and announce now, I do plan to react to season 2 and beyond. I decided I just wanted to watch this on my own time, but doing the episodic reviews has been difficult for me because one, I have to like I usually watch the episodes at night, so I have to review them right away the next day. But at the same time, it's like sometimes I'm watching other stuff, and I don't get to more episodes for a while, and that's getting kind of annoying because I want to continue watching, but at the same time, knowing I can basically only do one at a time because I can only do one review at a time while remembering everything. It's just like it's getting annoying. So I think we are going to react to season 2 and beyond. I know season 3 is gearing to come out um, with Jensen Ackles in it, so that's exciting. I'm very much enjoying it. I really love this series. I definitely think I want to react to it going forward, though. Just so I can get it on a more consistent basis. I don't know when it's going to come. I don't know like when I'm going to be able to get it into a spot, but I will say that I will get it into a spot eventually, and we'll kind of go from there. And again, I still have 2 more episodes that we're still going to do the reviews on, but starting in season 2, we will be reacting. I'll figure out a place to put it on the reaction schedule as I can. And yeah, like I said, we'll go from there. In the meantime, though, tell me in the comments below what you thought of episode 6 of The Boys. And thank you so much for tuning in. As always, no spoilers. I wish to continue going through this series as spoiler-free as possible. But yeah, just leave your thoughts on this episode in the comments below. And like I said before, if there's anything I forgot or anything you would like to have like more of my thoughts on or whatnot, please leave that in the comments below too. So for the time being, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.